My girlfriend demanded I sell the expensive watch my ex gave me years ago because she said keeping it meant I was still in love with her. Then she accused me of cheating and asked to go through my phone on our anniversary weekend. So now I'm single and she has until Sunday to move out of my apartment. Posted by itslippyout. When I, currently 29 was still dating my ex-girlfriend, she gifted me a nice watch on my 25th birthday. For some context, her employer paid her a salary of $92K per year, plus a living allowance as she often traveled for work. They provided her a company vehicle, phone, and the allowance covered her rent, hotel and food. So with most of her basic living expenses being covered, she had a lot of disposable income and had amassed a significant savings. The watch she bought was by no means a Rolex, but I believe it was a couple $1,000s. It is the only nice watch I own, my other watches being a cheap Timex from when I was in college and an Apple Watch. Fast forward a year and a half and we ended up breaking up. Her company ended up moving its base of operations to a different city, and she was only able to visit by flying here on weekends and it just wasn't working. She did ask for the watch back, but I said no, it was a gift, but that's a different story. Now, my current girlfriend, 26F, who I've been dating now for just over a year, seems to have a problem with the watch. I don't wear it often, usually on occasions. She's brought up before that I should sell the watch for some extra cash, but like I said before, it's my only nice watch. Last weekend we went out to celebrate our first anniversary. We got dressed up and went to a nice restaurant, and I wore my watch. She didn't notice until we got to the restaurant and sat down. When she saw it, she immediately asked why I wore it. I asked why I wouldn't, since we were getting dressed up nice. Why shouldn't I wear my nicest watch and only piece of jewelry? She said it's disrespectful to be wearing something gifted to me by my ex while celebrating our anniversary. I don't cherish the watch because of who gave it to me. I have no emotional or sentimental feelings about the watch, it's just a nice watch that I'd never be able to afford on what I make. I took the watch off at this point and slipped it into my pocket to try and save the evening, but it ruined her mood for the night. She wasn't interested in conversation and was short with everything she said to me. Silent on the drive home, and then immediately went to bed. I asked her the next day why the watch bothered her so much when it has no emotional significance to me. She just said she didn't want to talk about the watch anymore and went about scrolling on her phone. Over the next day she got over it, but now I feel like I'm not allowed to wear my watch anytime we go out together. For some additional context, she has expressed she doesn't like my ex as we broke up on good terms and spoke regularly. The breakup wasn't messy, it was just a matter of circumstances. We both were unhappy and it was nobody's fault. When my current girlfriend and I got together, she said she didn't want me texting with my ex, who I still considered a friend, and asked to look through our previous conversations, which I allowed, and then stopped texting her. She always seemed insecure about my previous relationship, and I've done my best to try and alleviate her concerns, but I figured she would get over it in time as our relationship solidified. I don't think wearing the watch was that big of a deal. Maybe I could sell it and use the money to put towards a different nice watch? I'm not sure if watches retain value well enough for it to be worth that, but even so I feel like that's just the new watch is still indirectly being paid for with a gift my ex gave me? Or do I just put it in a box and stick it in the back of our closet? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, these are her insecurities that she is allowing to rule your relationship together. You clearly are not dwelling on this past relationship and you have already made reasonable, and honestly unreasonable, accommodations for her discomfort. I understand current partners not wanting active communication between exes, but why did she need to look through your messages? That's an invasion of privacy and a lack of trust on her part. I would personally find that very disrespectful. Keep your watch. If it continues to be an issue, y'all then need to think about couples therapy to work this out. Ops response, I think she just wanted to see that our relationship was really over. Parting on good terms and still regularly talking to your ex is a concern I can understand. Nothing to really hide there, costs me nothing that I care about to let her look through the messages. I'm not a fan of asking to go through a phone, but I could understand why she might be concerned early on in our relationship. But now it just feels unnecessary. Commenter 2, NTA, but if you just like it because it's expensive, you could probably sell and buy one that you pick out and like better and solve your issue, well, at least partially. If you actually love the design, then tough cookies for your girlfriend. Regardless, she needs to learn to get over your friendship or resentment will just keep building. Still, I can see why she'd not be thrilled with you keeping a relationship with the ex you'd still be with if she didn't move away. Ops response, that's just it, I understand her not wanting me talking to my ex given we were still close after our breakup. I do like the design of the watch and not just the price. I admittedly have bad taste, so I'm hesitant to drop money on a new watch when I might pick out something tacky ha. Commenter 3, if you are still in communication with your ex, then yeah, I don't blame her for feeling insecure. You're not making her feel secure. If you don't talk with your ex, I think it's been long enough that it really shouldn't matter, especially BC you like the watch not because your ex gives it meaning but because it is a luxury piece. Even if you bought a new watch by selling your old one, you are still using the money she used to gift you the watch in the first place, so it somehow still ties back to your ex? It really doesn't make sense to me personally to get so mad over such a thing. Maybe she is upset because of the simple fact that your ex picked it out for you? She is definitely insecure and I do not believe you are in the wrong. Ops response, I don't talk to my ex. After she asked me to stop talking to her, I sent my ex one message, which I told her about beforehand, and it was to explain that I wouldn't be messaging her anymore and why, just so that she wouldn't be messaging me and wondering why I wasn't replying, and we haven't spoken since. Op responds to a downvoted comment on lying to his girlfriend about where he got his watch. OP, I'm the jerk because I didn't lie to her and say I bought the watch on my $54K a year salary? And who else would buy me a couple $1,000 watch? It would never occur to me to lie about who bought the watch. And like I said, maybe I will sell it. I'll be looking into it to see. Commenter 4, I really don't understand why a woman wants to go through your messages with your ex and you think yup, this is a great person to start a relationship with. You can't even wear a watch without her getting jealous or insecure. She dislikes your ex because you ended on good terms, not because she hurt you or broke your heart and she cares about you, but because you don't hate her. That's wildly immature and toxic. I can't imagine this is the only aspect she acts like this in. Are you allowed to have friends of the opposite sex? Go places without her? I hope these things you've mentioned are isolated incidents, that for some reason your girlfriend just has a weird trigger with your ex. But that usually isn't the case. Op's response, I get where you're coming from, but I also understand some insecurity. At the time, my ex and I felt like we were endgame, and would be married within a few years. I was probably the happiest I ever was with her. It was that stereotype of being in a relationship with your best friend, which I've never said to my current partner and I never would. But we moved on as friends and I think it's fair to be a little concerned that we might have some blurred boundaries. We don't, just to be clear. We had a very clear conversation when we broke up about how we can stay friends, and I value those boundaries. I do have a few friends of the opposite sex, which she doesn't seem to care about. And I don't really see any other red flags, which is why I'm having a hard time understanding why she's so upset over just a watch. Op on what kind of watch it is. OP, it's an Omega watch. I'd have to get it out and look at it to remember what kind it is. All I know is it was expensive and way out of my budget, ha ha ha. Op on the cost of the watch and his earnings. OP, the watch cost thousands of dollars, and I make under $55,000, which barely gets me by in my city. If my car suddenly needed $1,000 worth of work, I'd be in a tough spot. Didn't seem weird to me to wonder why someone basically living paycheck to paycheck has a fancy watch. Update, 4 days later. Before I get to the update, I want to thank you guys for the advice. It seems like a lot of you hit the nail on the head with the insecurity posing a problem. Also, there is one thing I want to clarify that a lot of people seem to be incorrectly assuming from my original post. A lot of people are saying I shouldn't have worn it after she told me she had a problem with it. But that's just it, she never voiced a problem with the watch before this. She told me I should sell it a few times for the extra money, but never said she had a problem with it. It was always framed as a financial suggestion. Now I will admit I assumed she wasn't a fan of the watch because of these suggestions, but I never had a reason to believe it bothered her so deeply and made her feel so insecure to the point she would let it ruin our anniversary. I always figured it bothered her because of its price, and the fact she could never afford to give me a gift like that, which I would never expect her to and don't care about. Now, on to the update. I talked to my father's friend who used to own a jewelry shop, and he said I could probably get 65 to 75% of its original value selling it privately, but finding a serious buyer might take time. For those who were wondering, the watch is an Omega Railmaster. I was told it would cost around $8 to $9K to buy a similar watch new today, which is more than I would have thought. And with the condition mine is in, I could probably get $5 to $6K if I were to sell it. So after work on Friday, I asked my girlfriend if we could talk about the watch. I wanted to make sure I understood the problem, and wanted to make sure it didn't cause any further issues. I said that I felt terrible for upsetting her on our anniversary and that maybe we could go out for a second anniversary date Saturday night to try and make up for it. I asked if me keeping the watch, but not wearing it on dates would be okay with her. She said she would rather it not even be in the apartment. I asked why. She said that she felt like I was holding on to my ex and that by keeping the watch I was keeping a part of her with me, and even if I put it away in the bottom of the closet, she would still be there. I explained that the watch has no sentimental value to me. It's not a symbol of my past relationship. It's just a nice watch, there is no deeper meaning to me. I told her that it seemed like she was looking for a deeper meaning where there was none. This is when things started to fall apart, and she demanded that I sell the watch because I was denying my feelings for my ex and needed to put her behind me. She started saying she felt I was still loving my ex and that I was holding on to the watch because I wasn't really over her and that my ex is who I really want to be with because she can shower me in gifts, which she didn't do for the record. All of this couldn't be further from the truth. If I wanted to get back together with my ex, I had the opportunity. But I said no because I had moved on. Which leads me to the side story from a few years ago when my ex asked for the watch back. 6 months after we broke up, still before I met my current girlfriend, her company ended up downsizing and she was laid off. She reached out and asked if I wanted to get back together. I said no. I was single, and could have said yes, but I had just moved on, and felt like getting back together, as badly as I wanted to say yes, felt like a step backward, and not to mention her company could recall her to work at any point. I just felt we were better off friends at this point, and I was fully okay with that. Around the same time she asked for the watch back. She said she was worried about money now that she was laid off and wanted to sell the watch to help cover her bills. I told her no because she didn't need the couple $1,000s she'd get for the watch when she had a six-figure savings account to bridge the gap between jobs, plus she could collect employment insurance. She had never been in a situation where income was uncertain, so she was kind of panicking, but eventually realized the watch wouldn't significantly improve her situation. Back to my current situation. After accusing me of still loving my ex, she asked to see my phone, which she hadn't done since we got together. This surprised me. I understood why she asked the first time since we had just started dating, but I felt like we were past that point and trusted each other now. So I asked her if she thought I loved her and if she thought I was cheating, and she just said she didn't know. She kept going on that if I loved her I would have gotten rid of the watch on my own. Up until this point the conversation had been not going well, but things were relatively calm. However, this is when things started to get volatile. Long story short, we've broken up. I'm not interested in being with someone who doesn't trust me. She got pretty angry, saying I was just looking for an excuse to go back to my ex after I told her I wanted to break up. I did end up handing over my phone and told her to look for whatever she thought was on it while I packed my bags, mostly to prove the point that there was nothing to find. She started saying I probably deleted the messages to cover my tracks, and I realized there's nothing I could do or say to convince her I was done with my ex. I left to stay with my sister and told her I'd be back on Sunday and that she needed to be moved out by then unless she wanted to take over the lease on her own. I haven't heard from her since, so I don't know if she's gone or not. I'm disappointed this is how things played out. But I think a lot of you were right, she was ruled by her insecurities and had some maturing to do. P.S. to the shocking number of you suggesting I lie about where the watch came from, I won't be doing that. I won't, and didn't, advertise it, but if I'm asked I'm not going to lie. That would never cross my mind, so thanks for the advice, but I won't be doing that. Relevant comments. Op clarifies the timeline on his relationships with both ex and his girlfriend at the time of the original post. OP, okay, there's a lot going on so I can see why you're confusing some things on the timeline and I could have been clearer. My ex and I broke up years ago. 6 months after our breakup is when she asked to get back together and asked for the watch back. I said no and we continued being friends. Long after that I met my current girlfriend, who insisted I cut off contact with my ex and wanted to see my messages, which I did. So no, my ex didn't recently try to get back together with me. I haven't spoken to my ex since my girlfriend went through my messages the first time shortly after we got together. I've always respected her wishes in that regard. Commenter 1, you should have asked to see her phone. Sounds like she might be projecting her bad behavior on you. Also, kinda a jerk move to refuse to give the watch back when your ex was freaking out over being laid off. She seems nice, hope she meets someone wonderful. Op's response, she was freaking out, but she was not in any kind of financial danger. If I thought she really needed it, I would have given it to her. She was just panicking. She had significant savings, like more than a year's salary in savings, plus she had an investment account and I don't even know how much that was worth. Yeah, I could have given it back, but it wouldn't have made a difference. I think she ended up getting called back to that same company a few months later anyways. Commenter 2, she's crazy jealous, but based on how unimportant you say the watch is to you, it's remarkable how reluctant you are to sell it. Op's response, I'm reluctant to sell it because I've never had something nice like this watch. I could sell it, but then I'd only be able to buy something cheaper since I wouldn't get anywhere near what it costs new. Commenter 3, it sounds like you dodged a bullet. Maybe next time date a bit longer before you move in with someone. You've only been dating a year and now you're dealing with someone needing to move out. Commenter 4, holy moly. Honestly, even though this was probably difficult, I think you are so much better off without this person. She clearly has trust issues. Looking at your phone? All these accusations? Totally paranoid. Please don't sell the watch. You can enjoy it as a nice watch without getting all moony over your previous ex-girlfriend. You really don't have to say, hey, see this awesome Omega? An ex got it for me. Obviously, if someone specifically asks, and who does this, really, you can tell the truth, it was a gift, but why broadcast it? For a little context, my ex-husband bought me a really nice watch over 20 years ago, before our first child was born. I still wear it and love it and appreciate it for being a good watch. However, I don't feel the need to tell anybody at all where any of my watches came from. It kinda seems like a tacky question.